It's called the front overview of my inspection. So we started out, and I'm going to recap what he just said. What he just said was, first thing we looked at again, we talked about was the stance of this vehicle. It has to be standing up tall. Can't be leaning to the left, can't be leaning to the right. There's only a couple issues if it was. Low air pressure in the tires, cargo problem, meaning the cargo has shifted, or it could be a suspension problem. Then he talked about how he looked underneath the truck. When he looked underneath the truck, he was looking for any current leaking fluids. It could be oil, it could be power steering fluid, it could be coolant, it could be windshield washer, it could be...
Transmission oil. Transmission oil?
There is no transmission oil. There is, it's sealed gearbox. There isn't, it's not an automatic transmission, so it wouldn't have transmission fluid. So we have the oil, we have the coolant, we have the power steering, windshield washer, fuel, and hub oil. None of them oils should be leaking. They should be dry underneath your truck. You guys will learn the difference between a dry spot and a wet spot, okay? And if it looks wet, you look at your truck a little better and make sure it's not leaking. He also looked for parts that were missing, broken, or hanging, like belts, hoses, anything that doesn't look right. He was also looking for any obstruction or debris underneath my truck. There should be none underneath this truck. The next thing he went to was his bumper. And he told me that the bumper should be properly mounted and secured. It should not be broken, cracked, or damaged in any way. It should not be touching any other part of this vehicle, including the tires. You guys need to know all that. He talked about the footholes. They were clean, free of debris. There's no grease or oil on them. There was no ice, especially in the wintertime. Ice will build up on here from driving. He talked about his license plate. It was properly mounted, secured, those magic words. Properly mounted, secured, and it had an update sticker. He talked about the grill. The grill was properly mounted, secured, wasn't cracked, broken, or damaged, or missing parts, and had no debris stuck in the grill. It wasn't upside down either, guys. He also talked about the headlights. He told me the headlights were properly mounted, secured, and sealed, because they have to be sealed to keep moisture out, so there was no moisture. They weren't cracked, they weren't broken, they weren't damaged, they were in working order. They had two functions, high and low beams. He talked about his mirror, or his indication, his turn signals, his turn signals. He knew that those turn signals were properly mounted, secured, and sealed. They weren't cracked, broken, missing, or damaged. They were in working order. There was no moisture. And they had three functions. They were turn signals, they were parking lights, and they were four-way flashers. He talked about the convex mirrors. They were properly mounted, secured. They were clean, they weren't cracked or broken, and they were adjusted. He talked about the hood. The hood should be properly mounted, secured, and hinged. It's got hinges, guys. It's how it opens and closes. There should be no cracks, no damage. It shouldn't be broken. It should have two latching straps. They could be metal, they could be rubber. Depends on your truck. The latches have to be in working order. These are rubber like these. The rubber was soft and pliable. It wasn't dry, rotted, or damaged. It's a condition of rubber. He talked about the windshield. He said the windshield was properly mounted, secured, and sealed. No moisture was coming through the windshield. The windshield should be clean, shouldn't be cracked, have any damage. There should be no illegal stickers on your windshield, and it should have two legal stickers, a safety vehicle inspection sticker and an insurance sticker. He talked about the windshield wipers. He told me those windshield wipers were properly mounted, secured, and hinged. They work on a hinge, guys, and they were tight up against the windshield. He also told me that they had rubber blades. The rubber blades were soft, pliable, and they weren't dry, rotted, or damaged in any way. Next thing he talked about was the identification lights up on top. I have 5 lights. First of all, I know all those lights are amber. They were properly mounted, secured, and sealed. They weren't cracked, broken, missing, or damaged with no moisture, in working order. The 3 in the middle were identification lights. They told me that the vehicle was a minimum of 8 feet wide. The 2 on the ends were clearance lights. They told me the vehicle was a maximum of 13 feet 6 inches high. The last and not least was the top, was called the air dam. An air dam is there to save me fuel. It should be properly mounted, secured, shouldn't be cracked, damaged, broken, or missing. That was the front overview of his truck.
Convex mirrors.
I did it. Alright, so guys, clear out the front. We're going to open the hood. Now, guys, you can open the hoods. I'm a little guy, alright? So when I stand up here, I don't have a lot of leverage in my legs to pull the hood open, and I really don't want to fall. Also, I also noticed that If it's a truck I've never been around, I don't know much about it, I gotta trust these two hinges are holding. If they're not holding and I pull that hood open, the hood falls on me and probably kills me. So I don't open the hoods that way. I open the hood like he's gonna open it. I just open it just like that. Make sure no one's around it.
What are we doing with that?
If he asks you to open it, you can either open it the way you, whatever's easier for you.
Well,
Whatever's easier for you.
It won't be failing if you do it like him, right?
No, he ain't gonna fail if you open the hood, no matter how you do it.
You never know.
Just make sure he's not in front of me, don't hit him with it when you open it. You know what I mean? He might fail you for that.
If you hit him, you will fail you.
Possibly. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna check, and I'm gonna help direct you through this. Tell me about the fluids I check. What fluids? Engine oil.
Power steering.
Power steering.
Windshield washer.
Okay.
Coolant.
Coolant.
Hot oil.
Right.
Fuel.
Good. So he checks the oil. He checks the coolant. He checks the power steering. He checks the windshield washer fluid. He checks the fuel, and he checks the hub oil. There's 6 fluids that we need to check. Okay. After he's checked those 6 fluids, he's going to look at the overall condition of the inside of this hood. Meaning, he's going to look at all my hoses. I'm going to look at all my belts. I'm going to look at, make sure the belts are tight. They're not real loose. They're not dry rotted, soft, cracked, or damaged. Look like they're going to break. He's going to look at the parts that are bolted to the engine. We have parts that are bolted to this engine, like the water pump, the air conditioner, the alternator, the air compressor, the power steering. Anything that's bolted to the engine, he needs to look at. He needs to make sure it's properly mounted, secured. There's no damage. It's not missing. It's not leaking. He'll look at all his electrical stuff. He'll look at all his lines, all his little clamps. Make sure everything is in order. You want to make sure there's no damage. Doesn't look like there was any previous damage. The next thing he's going to look at is his steering system. And he knows that his hand touches what?
Steering wheel.
And where does the steering wheel touch?
Steering wheel shaft.
Shaft.
Universal joint.
Right.
Steering gearbox.
Okay.
Pitman arm.
Good.
Castle nut and cutter pin. Rockling.
Right?
Steering ring knuckle. Spindle inside. Steering arm. Tire roll.
Excellent job. That is the steering system, guys. And let's do this one more time. We got a lot of guys here, so I'll try to sneak up in here. All right, so we got a steering wheel. That's the first part of our steering system. We got a steering wheel. We got a steering wheel shaft. We have a universal joint. We have a steering gearbox. We have the pitman arm, which is right here. Below the pitman arm, we have the castle nut and the cotter pin. That's what keeps my drag link on. After my drag link, I have a steering ring knuckle. I have a spindle inside. I have a small steering arm in the back, and I have a tie rod, which goes from tire to tire. That is my steering system. You guys got to know that. It's on your paper. If you look at all your papers, it'll actually have a steering system on this one.
It's
there
on page 3.
or there or here.
Page
or
3.
Here. Either one. Okay, either one. So again, we'll do it one more time. Steering wheel shaft, universal joint, steering gearbox, pitman arm, castle nut and cotter pin, drag link, steering ring knuckle, spindle inside, steering arm at the bottom, little small arm, and then the long one that goes all the way across is called my tie rod. That is the steering system. You need to know those parts. And what I know about those parts is this. They are all properly mounted and secured. They're not damaged, bent, broken, missing, or leaking. Power steering can leak, guys. It could leak out of the gearbox or out the hoses or the reservoir. Cannot have it leaking. Anytime any part has something it holds, whether it's air or fluid,